All right, good afternoon. Welcome to the October 13th meeting of the Design and Project Review Committee. We do have a quorum. Is there a suspension of the rules?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules to allow member participation electronically or by telephone.
Second.
Michael Griffith, please call the roll. You're on mute.
Nyden,
Aye.
Schnur. Callahan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Vanetta,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Ike,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
and Sterling.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes of October 6th?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for October 6th, 2021.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right, Michael, please call the roll.
Nyden,
Aye.
Schnur,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Vanetta,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Ike,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
and Sterling.
I'll abstain.
All right, great. Old business, 584 Lincoln Street. Raymond Mandarino, applicant submits for a sign variation to install an illuminated wall sign where only non-illuminated signs are permitted. Alpha Epsilon in the U3 University Lakefront Campus District. Is there somebody on for this item? Is there somebody on for the sign at 584 Lincoln?
I did email them saying someone needed to attend. I reminded them.
All right, well, I would like for it to return at some point, but I'm not gonna ask for a motion to hold. I'd like them to send me a letter explaining what their next steps are. So because I don't want to put this back on the agenda for a fourth time if they're not planning to be present for our meeting. All right, next up, 500 Davis, Brad Hartig. Applicant submits for a building permit for exterior alterations of an existing office building in the D1 Downtown Fringe District. Is there somebody on for 500 Davis?
Here to stay back on the, excuse me, building property manager for 500 Davis is on, and I believe our general contractor and designer are on as well.
Great. Why don't you walk us through what you would like to do, and we'll ask questions and if anybody would like to provide any public comment on this item, please put a message in the chat and I will put you down for public comment.
Sure, and Brad, Laura, our designer and general contractor. Laura, since you're the designer, I'll let you sort of take the initial lead and then I can chime in, excuse me, as necessary. Laura, are you there?
I am here and Brad is on as well, but I think we're having trouble hearing him.
This is Brad. Can you hear me now?
There, I can hear you now, Brad. Great.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so quick kind of summary is for the exterior of this building, we will be kind of refreshing the main first floor kind of promenade with some new metal panels at the columns, a new canopy of metal panel, and then some sort of decorative fins that kind of span between the first floor and the second floor to kind of provide a little focal point, as well as some exterior lighting updates. Yeah, this is a good, I think these are good renderings to kind of show the general scope. This is the main entry, and you can see we've got a new canopy. It's metal panel with new lighting. And then on either side of the columns, which are existing precast concrete, we're cladding them in the metal panel that will match the finish and texture of the canopy. And then up above, you can see that line of vertical fins, which spans a couple bays either side of the main entrance. And then in addition to that, on 3 sides, we'll be adding new planters. And then underneath the kind of the arcade, we'll put in new lighting on the exterior soffit there. And that's, we can go to the next couple images. I think it's the same scope, but it shows sort of how it wraps around the corner. The vertical fins are, like I said, just a bay or so over the main entry. And then we've got the column wraps that wrap around Davis. And then we've got a new building sign as well. The materials are metal panel, and most of the finishes are kind of a bronze finish. And then see there's a kind of a dark panel between the first and second story that it's existing precast that we're looking to paint sort of a dark charcoal color. And you can see the planters kind of wrapping around to the side of the building, on the side of the building. And I think we can take another look at I think there's one more image. And then same kind of scenario over here with the metal panels at the column enclosures, and then painting that existing precast, and then the new signage as well. And you can see there's some planters on this side as well. Yeah, that's Laura, Daryl. Is there anything you want to add that I might have skipped over?
Maybe this is Laura Rebbe with Epstein. The only thing I might point out is just that the planters are on the building property and not on the city sidewalk property. They're tucked underneath that arcade.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are there any questions I might be able to answer?
So question, is it, I think if this isn't the same sort of venue, but there's some scaffolding you want to put up, right? And some wrap, is that correct?
I'm sorry, are you trying to confirm, I just understand the question. This is Daryl again. You're trying to confirm where the scaffolding would go through for the duration of the project? Is that the question?
I know there was I just want to cover this off. There had been some questions about scaffolding and some signage on the scaffolding. I just was wondering what that all was going to look for.
Oh, so yeah, so there is going to be a section of scaffolding in the center area where the canopy is being constructed. And our hope was that we would be able to put a rendering similar to what you're seeing right now. Essentially, if you going up a couple of slides, that first front face rendering of the new main entrance of the property, at least the refreshed, entrance to the property. We wanted to put a rendering on that scaffolding just so as people were walking by, they would see what the project's actually doing. So it would be one more, yes, that one right there. So just be a rendering that would be, a vinyl rendering on the scaffolding to show anyone walking through or driving by what the project is.
Okay, great. Other questions from staff?
I had one question. That section of Davis is one way, correct? Going west?
Correct.
So I had a question about the wall sign that you have on the west elevation of the building, which really looks like it's more oriented for automobile traffic. And I wonder if you could consider something that's more pedestrian oriented, considering traffic doesn't travel that direction.
Excuse me. Laura, feel free to chime in with what the decision points were before I joined the project, but I do know that having them on the other side captures not just automobile traffic, but pedestrian traffic and downtown traffic as you're walking through, you know, that edge of the business districts. I think the intention was to bookend and then try and capture as much traffic as we can with the building address. We have a lot of pedestrians that come into the building that walk to the property. We have a number of medical offices in the building, dentists and things of that nature. So and we do want to be able to identify pretty clearly what the building address is so that the tenants and patients that are coming to the building can clearly identify the building.
I just wonder if it'd be a little more appropriate to, if you go back to that slide that showed the main entrance and where you have the address there, which is very obviously pedestrian oriented. If you could do something similar on that west elevation instead of the very large wall sign that's also illuminated at the top.
Right, can we, yeah, maybe go down one more slide to the,
That one.
yeah, there we go. Right, we looked at locating the sign sort of in the darker panel there that we're painting the precast. Ownership didn't want to do that because they felt like that was perhaps maybe too hidden in that location. If we bring it down lower, sort of on the column, I'm afraid we don't have a column face with the metal panel that's facing the right direction to actually kind of catch pedestrian traffic headed east on Davis. So I'm not sure there are too many opportunities to bring a sign down to that arcade level.
You don't think you'd see it on that second most column there, right in this rendering, isn't that?
I would say not if I'm walking on the sidewalk that's sort of at the right end of the rendering here. And I'm sort of headed straight across the street. I don't know that I would necessarily pick up on that very well. You mean to the right, or you mean along Davis, the second?
I mean,
column?
along Davis.
Ah, okay. Yeah, maybe. It's kind of an odd location though for a sign.
It just seems
If
totally
there's
out of
not an
scale
entrance
to me
there?
on that elevation. It's really difficult for me to wrap my head around, but.
I'm going to concur with Kate. I think the rest of the signs in that block are really pedestrian oriented. They're at the street level, they're on the first level or above. So even, and that building is always kind of jutted. It feels like it juts out a little bit because it opens and it had that one, you're not, that column kind of sits out there. It might also create a nice sense of presence for the cafe, outdoor cafe that sits out there as well. It doesn't necessarily feel like a loading spot. It feels like a space. So I would, there's no other, I'm just on a street view right now. There's no other signs that are above that level. So I think it would actually look a little bit out of place to be above, and that first level is already a pretty tall level anyway.
So I would piggyback on that, Johanna and Kate, to say that that both of the signs are actually over the allowed height per ordinance. And so we would be looking at that when you came to apply for your sign permit. And that would be one of the things that we would consider. Also, just for clarification purposes, the picture that we're looking at now that we're talking about, the one sign that's more for a vehicle traffic versus pedestrian traffic, that's on an alley, correct? Not necessarily a street?
Yes, the alley, what you're looking at right now, the picture that's on the screen right now, that there is an alleyway, not a street.
Okay. So the signs are technically supposed to be facing a street, and I don't know that anybody would be considering an alley a street. So that would be something else that we would be considering for this particular sign right here that we're looking at right now, that it's not street facing. It's actually facing the alley because it's not helping with the flow in order to look at when you're driving. And that goes back to what Cade was commenting on.
Okay, we can take a look at that. Is it just this west facing street or is it, or west facing sign, or is it the same issue with the east facing wall?
Well,
sign?
they're both actually over the allowed height per the ordinance. So if you, when you were to apply for your sign permits, you would have to be, it would have to be looked at for a variance to be at that height. Now, if you brought them down to the required height, then that would be a sign permit that would be just permitted if it meets the requirements. But facing the alley and then being too high, that would bring you back to a variance.
Is this
Okay.
perspective supposed to be from Chicago Avenue? Because I could see a reason why you would want some visibility from there. So if you could check to see if this is how it would be seen from Chicago, that would be a good idea.
Okay.
I do think the trees, I mean, if you zoom out to street view at Chicago and Davis, the tree line would probably also obscure this. There's trees in that that block to the half to the east, to the west. So you might actually be better off putting a sign on the column because the trees are going to obscure.
In relation to the trees, there's a lot lining that building. What type of work are you going to need to do to those to be able to accomplish this?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understood the question.
So the parkway trees in the tree wells. So
Yes.
are you going to need to do anything to those, or do you have room to actually do everything?
We do not need to do anything to the trees.
So nothing's going to be touched. Okay.
No.
I'm sorry, one more concern with the sign. They're illuminated too, correct?
Yes.
And I believe what the building to the east of this, is that residential? Just east of, across Hinman?
Right.
The Mather?
Yeah, that's the Mather. That's residential.
So I would just, I'd some concern with how bright that would be and whether that would impact those units.
Okay.
I had a couple other questions about the lights too. The lights that are mounted on the piers, are those just purely decorative? Wondering how bright those are going to be as well.
They are mostly just sort of architectural accents. They won't be putting out a lot of light, no. We'll actually have we're checking out a sample of them this week on site just to kind of get one last visual on it. But yeah, it's mainly just to have a little pinpoint of light, a little sparkle on the facade, not a lot of light output.
Just a comment for what it's worth, our streetlight master plan, the way we do all our LEDs in the roadway, we use a 3000 Kelvin color temperature or less. So I just wouldn't want anything too bright white there either.
We will double check our spec, but I would agree with that. Yeah, we'll try to match the light temperature.
Under the patio, will you be keeping the existing bike parking?
We are not changing any of the bike parking.
Great.
All right. Any other staff comments? If somebody would like to make public comment on this item, they can put their name in the chat and I will call on them. Anyone else? And just so you're aware, signs are a separate permit.
Yes.
Mhm, yeah.
Angel said that, but I just want to make sure that's clear. All right, I'm seeing no further comments. Is there somebody who would like to make a motion? I will repeat, would somebody like to make a motion?
Considering that signage is a separate permit, we'll review that later. I'll make a motion. What is this, to approve, I suppose, preliminary and final review for this?
It is.
Second.
Michael Griffith, please call the roll.
Nyden,
Aye.
Schnur,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Vanetta,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Hank,
Aye.
and I see Cara Pratt joined us. Are you voting today?
I know enough about this whole process, so may I abstain?
Okay.
You may abstain. Thank you for joining us.
And Jones
Aye.
and Sterling.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Next item, 500 block of Dempster. Preliminary and final review, Catherine Gottsick. Applicant submits for a permit to install Festoon Lighting across the 500 block of Dempster Street from Chicago Avenue East to the alley in the B1 Business District and Main Dempster Overlay District. Hello, Catherine. Tell us what you are proposing to do.
Hi, I also just want to let you know that joining me on the call today, both the property owners that would be affected, Harry Major and Ira Rose, look like they're logged in, and the proposed installer, Scott Parrish from Illuminate, is with us too, in case you have any questions. So we would like to install Festoon Lighting between the buildings on the north and south side of the 500 block of Dempster. There are multiple eateries there. That's the majority of the businesses there. Many of them already have sidewalk cafes. And we won't need to do anything to activate that space as an evening gathering point, except put those lights up. We see it as a good use of our money. I believe they'll last about 2 years, so it's an investment. And it's really just meant to bring charm and delight to people who would like to walk around the neighborhood and stay out later.
So I think there were quite a few questions about maintenance of the item. Sure. And I think, first, we get wind, we get crazy weather that moves things that are supposed to stay planted down. What is your plan for when we have something, an event, or maybe even something doesn't even happen, it comes down and the city gets a call saying, city, you have to come fix it. What is your plan for fixing it? Because we'll call you.
Yeah, so the first thing is that I have posted a $1,000 bond after talking to Dave Stoneback, which he says will cover even like a Sunday overtime activation of Public Works employees to do an emergency removal of the lights. At that point, we would regroup, right? I mean, like if it's something that, we didn't expect to bring it down, then we obviously need to go back to the drawing board and figure it out. If it's some sort of, 1,000-year storm, seems like 1,000-year storms are coming more often these days. And that's on my mind. But we believe it is not a reason not to do it at this time. But at the very least, we are willing to make sure that safety is taken care of by that bond.
Okay. And
or
then
short-term safety, I should say.
Okay. And then I anticipate the city would get these as well. They'll see a light out or something else. Are you prepared to fix those? And then something to keep in mind is when people when your team does come to fix them, they're going to have to get the proper permits, because you can't just stop a vehicle on Dempster to change the light. You'd have to get right away permits and proper safety controls, so it's done safely.
Sure, I understand. Scott's on the phone and he can explain how it happens, but we would be responsible for the cost of maintenance.
Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Scott Parrish from Illumination Holiday Lighting. We do the Lincoln Park Zoo lights, a lot of installations throughout Chicagoland, City of LaGrange, Wheeling, Lake Forest, also Evanston, and multiple locations. So we're fairly familiar with working in this kind of situation, this kind of environment. The lighting itself is very uninvasive. It's not very heavy. If there is a bulb that goes out, it's very easy to go fix. We have bucket trucks that we can go and literally just change the bulb. It's not a very complicated system. If there's a larger issue, say like a storm comes through and or a very, very large vehicle, or I don't know, some freak thing happens where a lighting strand comes down, we are also available for on-call maintenance to fix those things. If the worst comes to worst, we send a crew, we wrap up the light or the strand that's knocked down, and we put it back on the roof until we can figure out what we can do. If we can immediately solve and fix the problem right there.
And Scott, I mean, like you have Festoon Lighting on Sheffield and Belmont. I think you might have it one other place. Have you? I mean, like how often have they been threatened by issues like?
Never. I mean, it's been up for 3-4 years now. And while that particular lighting is a different type of lighting, and the actual bulb is its own thing, but the strand has never come down, the wires never come down. And when there has been issues with the bulbs, we come and fix them.
Okay.
Will we get to see how the connection's made, or is this going to be the same as the other ones? Can you talk a little bit how it's connected to the buildings?
Sure. So usually, all right. So on the north side of the road, those buildings, that building has kind of like little peaks throughout it every, I don't know, 25 feet, 30 feet or so. So we're going to mount a Unistrut on the back of the building of that brick, 2 or 3 locations of Unistrut, run a square pipe up, mock it with masonry screws and redheads, or I believe they're called redheads, but anchoring points that are suitable to this type of structure. And then use straps to attach it to the Unistrut. From the pipe itself, we'll drill a hole at the top of the pipe, run an eye hook or my brain, what's that word I want to call? I can't remember. Anyway, basically an eye hook, similar to that, thread it back, lock it, so on and so forth. Run a steel wire through it with the turnbuckle on it beforehand so that the turnbuckle can handle tension and so on and so forth. Run the same thing to the other side. On the south side of the building, we're going to make little welded bases that will hold weight so that so that'll maintain permanence. It'll stay in place because that building doesn't have it's pretty much a flat roof. It's got maybe like a 2-inch lip for the boat, 2-4-inch lip for the most part, so there's nothing to really screw onto there. And then we're gonna have a little truss, 8-inch truss structure that you see all the time in concert and lighting events, holding massive amounts of weight. Welded to the frame of the base and to an upright point, and the diagonal base, the diagonal points going back to it so that it's very secure. And then we'll do the same thing where we run the steel aluminum wire, 1/8 inch, which has a 340-pound working load limit. The lights for an 80-foot run don't weigh more than, what was the number? Let me check my number real quick. My number was 9.062 pounds per each line. So we're well within the weight limit of the 1/8. 1/8 is overkill, but why not? I'd rather be safe than sorry. And then that's it. I was trying to find some kind of a breakaway system if some really large truck or some dude in their yacht decided to go down Dempster Street. But I'm still looking for that kind of system. If not, I think I'm going to invent it and sell it to you guys, because everyone keeps on saying, we want things not to break away. I'm like, well, we want it to break away in this case, just in case, but you know, we'll figure something out. That's, you know.
On that topic, one other question. Do you have the height that you're going to do? I know our highest viaduct in town is 14 feet. So I'd probably like to see something above that.
That's exactly where the bottom of the lights will be. At the
14
lowest
feet.
point. At the lowest point, correct.
Then our building, I own the building on the northeast corner, and we have exterior lighting on the whole building with a house meter. We've already made the arrangements to have all the electric go to our house meter, and we'll be covering the cost of that.
Thank you, Harry.
Harry, wherever you are, I want to be there.
So a question I have, I thought we needed at least 16 foot of street clearance. Unless that's a DOT right away there, and then it has to be 20.
We can make it 16. I was unaware of the exact height. I figured 14 usually cuts most, you know, is higher than most traffic go through Dempster, but we can do 16 as well. It's not a problem.
Minimal requirements for semi-truck traffic is 14 feet height, and there aren't any viaducts in Evanston that are much higher than that. Although I would defer to you, Catherine, on how many large semi-trucks come down Dempster.
I mean, a number. You have food delivery that comes there up Chicago. So, I mean, I would plan for semi-traffic to come up there.
Maybe do 15 feet, call it good.
I'm not sure if all public works vehicles can fit underneath that. That's why, you know, 16 foot to me is the minimum on something like this, just because of snow removal. And, you know, I know some of our equipment, you know, we have a lot of equipment doesn't fit underneath the viaducts. So, but Dempster is a, you know, a very common route for us for trucks, for public works and everybody else. So, I mean, to me, if we're going to have a right of way or, you know, a height over the right of way of 16 foot through town, I think it should be at least matching that, if not higher.
Okay, I mean, we certainly want to accommodate public works vehicles and certainly snow removal.
Is this going over the top of the trees then?
I don't think it actually touches any trees, or it's strung such that.
Because I'm looking at the middle of the south side of the block where it looks like
Oh, right.
It depends. I have to look. I didn't see each tree, whether or not it's taller or lower, but for the most part, I don't think it really interferes with the trees.
Yeah, the trees there are, all the trees right there are very immature. That would be something I think we would have to, I don't think we have to deal with right now, but I would certainly defer to forestry or somebody if they disagree.
The trees do not go above the building, any of them right now.
Yeah, they're all small trees. And they've been that way for quite a while.
Yeah, and this is only for how many years do you anticipate?
I mean, I could see them going for at least 3 years.
We're planning for 2. Like our budget is to redo in 2. But if they lasted 3, then we would be into it.
Sure. I'm just looking at that picture there. It does look like, you know, unless it's just a perspective thing, but it looks like the trees are, a couple of them might be an issue.
Fair enough.
Not positive, but I think it's the angle of that picture. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think they do go above the, one option is to have them trimmed a little if they do grow that, you know, yes, the height of the building.
If you're running it through the tree, even with pruning it, once the tree flexes in the winds, how's that going to impact the lighting at that point. I mean, I don't really see pruning the trees to poke holes in them for temporary lighting.
Well, if we're at 16 feet and no tree is larger than 10 feet right now, I think we have a long way to go before that's an issue. And by then we can just address it by moving the bases, extending the wires and extending the lines so that they're no longer inside the tree lines.
So can we just design it to where it's not an issue right now or down the line so you don't have to reposition anything? Just design it around the trees at this point, so that's a done deal?
I could go and revise and look.
Yeah, I'd prefer that at this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm. So I don't know, do you guys need to do this again, or can you approve, can you basically say we approve based on the fact if they're not involved with the trees?
We would approve with conditions, so we would,
Okay.
we can move forward here today.
Okay. Yeah, time is of the essence. It's already holiday time.
Don't say that.
That's our hope, like that we could actually might get these up for the holidays.
All right.
We want to do it right though, obviously.
We appreciate that. Other questions or comments from staff or concerns? What are the say again, what the hours that these would be on for?
Whatever you want. There'll be
Yeah,
on
I
time.
mean, it would not be overnight. It would be until 11-ish, midnight-ish, like TBD.
Okay, I think we need to pick a time and that needs to be part of the condition of approval because.
Sure.
And then just be mindful that I don't anticipate this because there's not really residential in this particular area, but if somebody does have concerns, it may have to go off earlier. This is festive. It's not like a grocery store sign. I think it's you're not gonna have people have this in their backyards right now.
Yeah,
Right.
it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
So,
Exactly.
I don't anticipate it, but I just want to condition expectations that they might have to come off if there are concerns.
What time do the holiday tree lights go off right now?
Some of them, usually around midnight, I think we have it set to midnight, 1 a.m.
Yeah, I think midnight or 1 a.m. I would say 1 a.m. And then we can make it earlier if need be.
You can always put a provision stating 1 a.m. and then if complaints occur, the time's reduced by midnight or 10, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the board approves,
Yeah, I was gonna say if 1 a.m. is too late for this board, we'll comply with whatever you think is reasonable.
I think we usually say 10 o'clock for grocery store signs, like 10 or 11 o'clock, depending on the hours.
So I would love to push back on that just a little bit, just because space is right there, and their events will let out later than 10 o'clock. I know that I don't know. I know Evanston Poor is going to be there, and I know that they have more late night hours, but I don't. I don't
Why don't
know
we say 11 o'clock, and then if we need to go a little later, we can work to go a little later. And then versus taking something away versus adding something. I'd rather be adding something than taking it away. So let's start with 11, and if we go later, we can go later. We can talk about it. We don't have to come back to DAPR. We can just work that out administratively. I'm happy to work with you. I just want to be consistent with how we light other things around town.
I understand.
Sounds great.
All right, is there a motion here or unless there's no other comments?
I'll make a motion for preliminary approval, preliminary and final review with the condition that a maintenance agreement is created for the maintenance of the lights and in emergency conditions. The height is set to 16 feet and that they won't impact any of the trees. And the hours that the lights can be on can go till 11 p.m. with the city option of changing that in the future as necessary.
Second.
Okay, Michael Griffith, please call the roll.
Nyden,
Aye.
Schnur,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Eckersberg,
Aye.
Vanetta,
Aye.
Tristan,
Aye.
Hank,
Aye.
Pratt, are you voting or are you going to abstain? Either way is fine. Jones
Aye.
and Sterling.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Can't wait to see them up.
Thank you so much. This is really exciting. We actually posted, the roundtable did an article today on the possibility of this project, and it met with massive positive feedback. So this will make a lot of people very happy. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you. Hi, beings of Evanston.
All right, so there's no further business. We will have a meeting next week. And just for everyone's purposes of this being the end of, almost the end of October, and November and December are always a little weird with schedules, we will not have a meeting the fourth week, the day before Thanksgiving, nor the week after. So that's the 24th and the 1st. And then we probably will only have 2 DAPR meetings in December, accounting for, lack of forum and other things. So that is it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. See you all next week.